The afternoon sun beat down on the small town of Harmony Creek, Ohio. Exhaust fumes mixed with the smell of greasy fries from food trucks parked along Main Street. Amidst the bustle, Maya, a 17-year-old high school senior, drove slowly in her somewhat beat-up, faded red Toyota Corolla. Her Harmony Creek High sweatshirt was a bit damp with sweat. She was heading home after a long student government meeting. In her hand was a folder holding a proposal for the 4th of July celebration she needed to submit to the principal. Maya was known as an active and polite student. Her face was sweet with a calm gaze. But inside, she often felt anxious, especially since her father passed away a year ago. Her mother, Rose, worked long shifts at a small diner near the Greyhound bus station. Every day, Maya drove herself to school. Sometimes, if the diner had a slow day, her mother would slip her a little cash for gas. Their life was simple. But Maya never complained. That afternoon, as she stopped at a red light near the local market, she suddenly heard a sharp whistle. "Hey you! Pull over." A police officer in full uniform stood by the side of the road. He was a large man, his face rigid, and the name tag on his chest read Officer Jennings. Maya pulled over, her heart pounding. She rolled down the window. "Is there a problem, officer?" she asked politely. "You know why I stopped you?" His voice was deep, authoritative, but with a demanding edge. I don't know, sir. Did I do something wrong?" Officer Jennings stared at her from head to toe, then said coldly, "You've got a cracked taillight. That's a violation." Maya glanced in her rearview mirror. It was cracked, but the light still worked. "Oh yes, sir. I'm sorry, I'll get it fixed." "Can't just be sorry. I'm going to have to write you a ticket," he said quickly, pulling a ticket book from his pocket. Maya panicked. She knew she didn't have much money. Only about $10 in her wallet. "But, officer, I'm just trying to get home. I'm just a student." "That's what they all say. You think I don't know that?" Officer Jennings moved closer. His tone grew harsher. People started to notice from the sidewalk. A woman selling vegetables, a construction worker on break, and a few bus drivers slowed down to look. "License and registration," he snapped. I don't have my license yet, sir." I'm still on my learner's permit," Maya replied in a small voice. Well, even better. Driving alone on a permit. That's a serious violation." He took his ticket book and scribbled something. But instead of writing properly, the officer glanced at Maya's face and smirked. "Where do you go to school?" "Pretty girl, high school kids these days. Always breaking the rules." He grunted while writing. "If you don't want a hassle, this can be resolved right here. You understand what I'm saying?" Maya fell silent. She knew what that phrase meant. Resolved right here meant money. A bribe. "I don't have any money, officer. I only have $10 for gas." Officer Jennings sneered. $10? What am I, a beggar?" Maya felt like crying but held it in. People were watching, but no one dared to speak. This officer had a reputation, mean, arrogant, and known for shaking people down. Jennings then pulled his smartphone from his pocket. He turned on the camera and moved closer. "All right, if you don't want to pay, I'll just document this violation. We'll make you famous." A reckless high school kid driving without a license. "Don't, sir. Please don't record me," Maya said, her eyes starting to water. "Why? Embarrassed?" "Should have followed the law. I can help you out, if you're willing to cooperate." His tone was dangerous, as if pressuring her. Maya bit her lip. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. She looked at the officer. She wanted to be angry but was terrified. "I didn't do anything wrong, sir. I just want to go home." "If you didn't do anything wrong, why aren't you cooperating?" He patted Maya's shoulder. The touch made her flinch back. "Don't touch me." Her voice was high, making a few people on the sidewalk turn their heads more sharply. Officer Jennings grunted, annoyed. "Talking to an officer like that, huh?" He grabbed Maya's wrist hard. The girl winced, trying to pull away. Several bystanders started whispering. "Shame, she's just a kid." Jennings is always like that, a real bully. But no one dared to approach. Everyone knew who Officer Jennings was. A traffic cop who ticketed indiscriminately, sometimes extorted the bus drivers, and had friends down at the station. Maya finally cried. Her tears fell. Not from fear, but from humiliation. She felt ashamed in front of everyone, unable to fight back. Let me go, sir. She tried to pull her hand, but Jennings held on tighter. If you don't want to cause a scene, come with me to the squad car. I'll check your vehicle properly, he said, pulling her toward his patrol car parked nearby. Maya looked around, hoping someone would help. But everyone was silent. The world felt incredibly cruel that afternoon. Inside the small squad car, the air was stale. Officer Jennings put his ticket book on the dash, while Maya stood rigidly by the open door. So, how's it going to be? You want to do this officially, or you want me to help you make this? Go away quick. I don't understand, sir. I'm just a student, she replied softly. Look, kid. If you want this to be easy, just give me a little something. I'll tear up the report. You'll be home in an hour. Maya bit her lip. Her hand clutched the $10 bill in her pocket. But she knew if she gave it to him, she would lose her dignity. I won't, sir. I'm not wrong. Officer Jennings laughed shortly. Stubborn, aren't you? All right, we'll see how you feel when your face is all over TikTok. He turned the camera on again, aiming it at Maya's face. The girl spontaneously covered her face with her hands. Please, sir, don't record me. Why? Scared? This is so everyone knows the face of a lawbreaker. Maya finally bolted from the car. But Officer Jennings chased her and grabbed her backpack, nearly making her fall. Several bystanders saw this from the sidewalk. One of them, an older man, a construction worker named Pete, finally shouted, Hey, officer. Leave the kid alone. That's enough. Jennings turned sharply. Who are you? This is official business. Stay out of it. That ain't official business. You're a public servant, not a thug. The atmosphere grew tense. People started to gather. Jennings, suddenly nervous, let go of Maya's backpack. Just get out of here. Don't cause trouble, he said harshly. Maya immediately started her Corolla and drove away, tears streaming down her cheeks. But she didn't know that someone in the crowd had recorded the entire incident on their phone. And that video would be the beginning of everything. As afternoon turned to evening, in their small apartment in a narrow alley behind the market, Maya walked in looking exhausted. Her mother, Rose, was packing up a to-go order of grilled cheese for a customer. Maya, what's wrong? You look pale. Maya tried to smile. Nothing, Mom. Just tired. But her voice trembled. Rose looked at her suspiciously but didn't press. She knew her daughter wasn't the type to complain. That night, after a shower, Maya sat on their small apartment balcony. She stared at the quiet street, holding her phone. On social media, she saw a new video starting to be shared widely. Arrogant cop humiliates high school student in public. And in the video, her face was clearly visible, crying, terrified. Unable to defend herself, Maya sat frozen. Her body trembled. She covered her mouth, holding back a sob. Comments poured in on the video. This is horrible. What kind of cop is this? This needs to be reported to Internal Affairs. The poor girl, but she was brave to speak up. Within hours, the video was viral. Officer Jennings' name started trending. But on the other side, Maya was hunted by shame. Her friends started sending messages asking, Is that really you in the video? Oh my God, she whispered. Why did this have to happen to me? She didn't know. Her fate had just changed. And even more shockingly, who she really was, not everyone knew. Not even her mother. In a large house in a wealthy suburb near Washington, D.C., a middle-aged man in a sharp suit was watching the viral news on television. His face was stern, his hair partially gray. His formal U.S. Army uniform, displaying the rank of Brigadier General, hung nearby. The man stared at the screen with sharp eyes, then said softly, Maya. He called the name with a heavy voice, as if holding back both longing and anger. So this is what you've been hiding from your father all this time. The night in Harmony Creek grew cold. Rain began to fall softly, wetting the empty streets. In her small apartment, Maya still sat in front of her phone. Notifications kept flooding in, making her heart pound. Maya, I saw the video on X, Twitter. That was you, right? Oh my God, how could a cop be that arrogant? You have to report him. Her friends kept texting. Some were concerned, others just curious. She didn't reply. Her mother, Rose, came out of the bedroom carrying a blanket. Maya, it's late. Go to sleep. This will all blow over by tomorrow. Maya nodded slowly. Okay, Mom. But in her heart, she knew this wouldn't be easy. Her name and face were everywhere. She didn't want to worry her mother, but the wound in her heart deepened. Meanwhile, in the grand house in the D.C. suburbs, General Mark Harrison, the stern-faced man who had been watching the news, sat in his home office. In front of him, an aide stood at attention. Sir, the video from Harmony Creek is all over the media. The officer involved is named Jennings, a patrolman at the local precinct. But the aide hesitated for a moment. Sir, the girl in the video appears to be Rose's daughter. General Harrison looked at the photo on the tablet the aide held. He was silent for a long time. Rose's daughter, he muttered. So she's this big already. The aide looked down, not daring to speak. Harrison stood, staring at the rain outside the window. Get the car ready. I'm going to Harmony Creek tomorrow morning. The next day at school, the atmosphere was uncomfortable for Maya. As she walked into class, whispers immediately started. That's her, the one in the video. I feel bad for her, but I heard her family is just normal. Maybe that's why the cop felt brave enough. Maya tried to keep her head down, but the shame followed her. Her homeroom teacher, Ms. Davis, looked at her with sympathy. After the first period, she called Maya to the teacher's lounge. Maya, I know this is hard for you, but don't be afraid. The school is on your side. If you want to report this to the authorities, I'm ready to support you. Maya shook her head slowly. I'm scared, Ms. Davis. My mom doesn't know anything. I don't want this to get bigger. Ms. Davis looked at her seriously. The problem is big, Maya. But if you stay silent, he could do this to someone else. Those words stuck in Maya's heart. But before she could answer, the bell rang. She excused herself and went back to class, her mind in turmoil. That afternoon, while Rose was setting tables at the diner, 2 black sedans stopped in front of their apartment building. Neighbors immediately turned to look, curious. From the first car, a tall man in a sharp gray suit emerged. His face was stern, his stride confident. Rose, he asked politely. Rose looked over, startled. Yes. I'm Rose. Who are you? It's Mark. Mark Harrison. Rose froze. The spoon in her hand stopped moving. She stared at the man for a long time, as if looking at a ghost. Mark, her voice was soft, almost trembling. You're Mark. The man nodded. There was a long silence between them. Neighbors started whispering. That looks like a military guy, a general or something. Seriously, why is he at Rose's place? Mark took a deep breath. I heard about what happened to your daughter, Rose. About Maya. Rose immediately looked down, nervous. Yes, sir. I just found out from the neighbors. I'm so scared. My daughter won't even leave her room. Is she home? She is. But she doesn't know you're coming. Mark looked at the small apartment door. His eyes were soft, but full of regret. It's time she knew, Rose. I don't want to hide from my own daughter anymore. Maya, hearing a strange voice from inside, came out slowly. As soon as her eyes met the man's, she froze. His face was unfamiliar, yet there was something achingly familiar. Like a faint shadow from a childhood she had almost forgotten. You're Maya, aren't you? Mark asked softly. Why? Yes, sir. But who are you? Rose looked at them both, holding back tears. Maya. He's your father. The words echoed in Maya's head. What? My father, honey. General Mark Harrison. Maya took a step back, disbelieving. All this time. Mom, you told me Dad was dead. Rose's tears fell. I just wanted you to have a peaceful life. We separated because of circumstances. Not because he didn't love you. Maya looked at them both, a mixture of anger, sadness, confusion, and fear. Mark stepped closer. His voice was gentle but firm. I know I was wrong, Maya. I was absent. But I promise you, I will not let anyone touch my daughter ever again. Maya looked down, tears beginning to fall. So, all of this is true. Mark nodded. You are my blood, Maya. And now, it's time for your father to ensure justice is served. That night, General Harrison made a call directly to the chief of police in Harmony Creek. His voice was flat but cold. I want Officer Jennings brought in for an internal affairs review. Tonight. The video is more than enough probable cause. I don't want excuses. The police chief on the other end could only answer quickly, yes, General. Right away. Meanwhile, in his small rental house, Officer Jennings was agitated. He had just watched the news on TV. Viral bully cop to be investigated by IA. He kicked a small coffee table in front of him. Angry. Who the hell filmed that video? His wife, trying to put their child to sleep, was terrified. Kyle, please, stop yelling. Shut up, he snapped. Before he could sit down, a car pulled up outside. 3 officers in suits, internal affairs, got out and knocked on the door. Officer Jennings? Yeah, that's me. We're from internal affairs, downtown. You're needed for questioning. Jennings panicked. Questioning for what? I didn't do anything wrong. We're just following orders, sir. Please come with us. He looked at their faces one by one, then fell silent. He knew an order like this didn't come from just anyone. Damn it, he muttered, but couldn't do anything as they handcuffed him in front of his wife and child. The next day, news of Officer Jennings' suspension and detainment spread quickly. Every local news outlet covered it. Disgraced officer investigated by IA for ethical violations and assault on a minor. At school, Maya's classmates started looking at her differently. No longer with curiosity, but with respect. Ms. Davis patted her shoulder gently. You are so strong, Maya. Now everyone knows the truth. Maya just smiled faintly. In her heart, she was still struggling to accept the reality of her father. That evening, General Harrison picked up Maya and her mother. He took them to dinner at a small Italian restaurant near the town square. The atmosphere was warm, though awkward at first. I know it will take time for you to forgive me, Mark said slowly. But I promise I will always be here from now on. Rose looked at him. Mark, don't just make promises in front of her. I don't want her hurt again. Mark looked serious. I swear it. And I will make sure that officer is punished to the fullest extent of the law. Maya looked at her father. I don't want revenge, Dad. I just want people like him to stop thinking they can humiliate people just because they can. Mark smiled slightly. Those are the words of a courageous person. You truly are my daughter. A few days later, the internal affairs hearing took place. Officer Jennings sat with his head down. In front of him, a panel of senior officers stared grimly. The evidence is clear, one of the investigators said. Your actions violated ethics, abused your authority, and humiliated a civilian, let alone a minor. Jennings tried to defend himself. I was just enforcing the law, sir. Enforcing the law doesn't involve threats and harassment, one of the panel members snapped. Finally, the decision was read. Officer Kyle Jennings was officially terminated. Dishonorably discharged from the Harmony Creek Police Department. He could only bow his head. Karma had come faster than he'd imagined. On the same day, Maya stood on the balcony of her new, modest apartment, one her father had arranged for them in a safer neighborhood. A gentle evening breeze blew. She looked at the sky, remembering the day she was humiliated on that street. Now, everything was different. She was no longer just an ordinary high school student. She had become a symbol of courage for many. Sometimes the truth comes through pain, she whispered, smiling faintly. And that pain is what made me strong. From a distance, General Harrison stood watching his daughter. There was pride in his eyes. The pride of a father who had finally found his daughter again after so many lost years. It had been 3 weeks since the ethics hearing that sealed Officer Jennings' fate. Harmony Creek was beginning to quiet down, but the name Maya Harrison was still being discussed. Every time she walked down the school hallway, classmates looked at her with admiration. Some teachers praised her bravery. But Maya felt uncomfortable with all the attention. She just wanted her normal life back. On the school bulletin board, there was a letter from the State Board of Education. They were giving an award to the Harmony Creek High student for courage in the face of injustice. But behind it all, Maya knew the high price she had paid. She had lost her sense of security. She often felt scared when she saw a police car on the street. And every time she heard a siren, her heart beat faster. One afternoon, Maya sat on the patio of their new apartment. It was bigger than the last, but her heart still felt foreign. She held a warm mug of tea, looking at the small garden her mother had just planted. Rose came out, pulling up a small chair beside her. "You seem down, Maya. Still thinking about what happened?" Maya sighed. "Not entirely, Mom. It's just, everyone talks about me like I'm some kind of hero. But back then, I was just scared and wanted to go home." Her mother smiled gently. "Courage doesn't mean you aren't scared, honey. It means you were brave while you were scared. That's what people admire." Maya looked at her mother's face. There was a calmness there. "Mom, aren't you angry that I just found out about Dad?" Rose looked at the evening sky. "I used to be. But when I saw him show up, his eyes full of regret, I knew maybe God timed it this way. So you would learn where you came from right when you were strong enough to handle it." Maya was silent. She knew her mother was right. That night, General Harrison came to pick them up. His official car waited outside with a driver. "Let's go to dinner. I want you to meet someone," he said warmly. Maya was hesitant. But Rose nudged her arm. "Your father is trying, Maya. Don't close your heart." They finally went. The car drove to a simple, family-style restaurant on the edge of town. The atmosphere was modest but warm. Waiting there was a middle-aged woman, Helen Harrison, Mark's wife, who had never been part of Rose's life. As soon as she saw Maya, the woman smiled gently. "So this is Maya. You look just like Mark when he was young." Maya froze, unsure how to act. Mark made the introduction. "Helen knows everything, Maya. There are no more secrets now." Helen looked at Rose with respect. "I apologize if there has been any pain over the years that hasn't healed. But I want you both to know I do not object to Mark being a father to his daughter. I just want peace for everyone." Rose looked down, tears falling. "Thank you, ma'am. I never asked for anything. Only that my daughter wouldn't suffer." The atmosphere was emotional. Even Maya shed a tear, not of sadness, but because she felt a great weight pressing on her family begin to lift. A few days later, the principal called Maya to his office. "Maya, there's an invitation from the governor's office. They want you to be a speaker at the State Youth Anti-Bullying Summit. Would you like to go?" Maya was shocked. "Me? Speak in front of all those people?" "Yes. Your story could be an inspiration to many other students." At first, she hesitated, but after discussing it with her mother and father, she finally agreed. The day arrived. The state auditorium was filled with students, teachers, and state officials. At the podium, Maya stood, trembling, holding the microphone. She looked out at the sea of faces waiting for her story. "My name is Maya Harrison," she began softly. 3 months ago, I was just an ordinary high school student. But one incident changed everything." She recounted the incident on the street, not with a tone of revenge, but with honesty. About the fear, the shame, and the courage born from injustice. "I didn't want to be famous. I just wanted us to know that sometimes, the truth must be fought for, even by ordinary people." The room was silent, then applause thundered for a long time. Several officials wiped away tears. From that day on, Maya's name was no longer just viral, it became a symbol of resistance against the abuse of power. That night at home, Mark sat in the living room, watching a replay of his daughter's speech on the news. He smiled proudly. "You were incredible, Maya. You showed courage without violence. That's a hard thing to do, even for adults." Maya looked at him, her eyes misting over. "I just don't want anyone else to go through what I went through, Dad. And you've already helped make that happen." Rose joined them, carrying a plate of warm chocolate chip cookies. "Finally, this house has laughter in it again," she said, smiling. For the first time in a long time, they ate together in happy silence. A few weeks later, Maya received a letter from the Department of Education. She had been selected as a recipient of the National Inspirational Youth Scholarship to continue her education at any university of her choice after graduation. She hugged her mother tightly. "Mom, I got a full scholarship." Rose shed happy tears. "Thank God, honey. The Lord certainly works in mysterious ways." Mark arrived that evening carrying a small bouquet. "I'm proud of you, Maya. I know your journey isn't over, but you've already conquered your own fear." Maya looked at her father with warmth. "Thanks, Dad. I want to keep fighting. Not just for me, but for others who don't have a voice." But life isn't always peaceful. A few weeks later, Maya received an anonymous message on social media. "Pretty brave, humiliating a cop like that. Watch your back, smart girl." The message made Maya feel uneasy again. She showed it to her father. Mark immediately had the source of the message traced by his cybersecurity team. The account belonged to one of Officer Jennings' former colleagues who had also been implicated in the investigation. Without waiting, Mark reported it to the regional FBI office. A few days later, the person was detained. "You don't need to be afraid anymore," Mark reassured her. "As long as I'm alive, no one will touch you." Maya looked down. "I'm not scared, Dad. It's just... sometimes this victim label makes me tired. I want to be known for who I am, not for what happened to me." Mark looked at her for a long time, then smiled. "Then write your own story. Let the world know who Maya really is." The atmosphere in the precinct parking lot that night was tense. All eyes were on Officer Jennings, who had just been escorted by two internal affairs detectives, his hands cuffed. Maya stood tall beside her father, wearing her school Letterman jacket, her face makeup-free. But her gaze was no longer that of an ordinary high school girl. It was the look of someone who had overcome fear and chosen to stand for the truth. Jennings had tried to defend himself, his voice trembling with emotion. "I was just doing my job, sir." This kid was resisting. But General Harrison cut him off with a firm voice. "Doing your job doesn't mean humiliating citizens, especially a minor. Do you know who that child you humiliated is? She is my own flesh and blood." Whispers began to spread among the officers watching. Some looked down in shame, others pretended to be busy. They knew this case wouldn't stop there. Maya looked at her father. "Dad, don't punish him because of me. Punish him because he was wrong." General Harrison turned, his expression softening. "You're right, sweetheart. The law isn't a tool for revenge. It's a tool to uphold justice." The next day, the news about the rogue officer who humiliated the high school student went viral on social media and television. Many were shocked to learn the girl was a general's daughter. But what impressed the public more was Maya's humble attitude. She refused long interviews, only saying briefly to reporters, "I'm nobody special. I just don't want people like him to treat anyone else like that ever again." Meanwhile, Jennings was officially terminated without pay. Besides the ethical violations, the investigation uncovered a track record of him abusing his power in the field. Ironically, a few days after his firing, an old video surfaced online showing Jennings extorting a truck driver late at night. That video went viral, and his reputation was completely destroyed. Karma moves fast, as the old folks in town often said. If you stir up calm waters, you might find the bottom is full of mud. A few weeks later, Maya returned to school. Her friends greeted her with hugs and relieved smiles. "Ms. Davis, her homeroom teacher, called her to the lounge. Maya, you've passed a great test in your life. Not everyone can be as strong as you. Maya smiled slightly. I just didn't want to be silent, ma'am. If I stayed silent, others might be treated the same way. The teacher patted her shoulder proudly. Keep being that way. But always remember, you don't answer evil with hatred, but with courage and kindness. Several months passed. That day, Maya and her father sat by a small pond on the military base. The afternoon sun reflected off the calm water. Dad, Maya said softly. When I was little, you used to say that being strong didn't mean fighting with violence, but having the courage to fight injustice. I understand what you meant now. General Harrison smiled, looking at his daughter with immense pride. I'm proud of you, Maya. You've become a strong woman. Maya just looked at the sky, which was turning orange. I hope no one else has to experience what I went through, Dad. I want to study law later. I want to help people who don't have the power to speak up. Her father looked at her for a long time, then said, that is a noble goal. The world needs more people like you. Several years later, Maya truly fulfilled her promise. She attended law school and became active in helping with cases of violence against women and children. The name Maya Harrison became a symbol of courage among students and young activists. Meanwhile, her story continued to serve as a reminder within the police institution that power without empathy only leads to destruction, and that behind the uniform, behind the badge, a human being must still have a heart. In the end, Maya grew into a tough and wise woman. She held no grudges, only a determination to fix the system that had once hurt her. As for Jennings, after several years of a difficult life, he eventually found work as a security guard at a small complex. He regretted all his actions and tried to atone for his mistakes by doing good for others. Perhaps